I just watched Tom Segura on Comedy Central. This is not happening, and it's a very funny story that he tells. And I thought I would talk about some of the most memorable experiences that I had concerning drugs. So, like, he talks about GHB, that he was very much into GHB, and people make that in the bathtub, basically. So, and everything that I'm saying from now on is allegedly. So that's my attorney's advice. Everything I'm saying is allegedly happened. So GHB was a little amateurish for me, and before, well, like I said, I kind of studied chemistry, and I didn't complete it because I was not in the condition to complete anything, least at all schools, you know. So I could complete like a bottle of vodka and so on, but at school that was not possible anymore. But I didn't study it for nothing. So so there are a lot of people who make GHB because it's very easy. It's just basically the acid of butter, which is butyric acid with a hydroxyl group, and it's made from butyrolactone or something like that. Butyrolactone. So the lactone of butyric acid, something like that. So and that's like a one-step chemical process, and then you crystallize that stuff. But I was more a fan of, at that time when I was young, I was more into going to discos and so on. So it made a lot of sense to me to making myself MDMA, which is ecstasy. So basically what people know as ecstasy, that's not MDMA. If you're young now, like 25, 28, you never had real ecstasy in your life, because ecstasy used to be either the racemic mixture of MDMA or dextro MDMA, and I don't think that any whatever disco can provide that. And basically all of the trees that are used to get that oil, that etheric oil, are basically all destroyed now. So there has been a whole forest full of sassafras trees has been destroyed because of ecstasy consumption. Because to make ecstasy you need sassafras oil. There is no way around that. You could theoretically make it yourself in a very complicated way, but that would, I mean, you would invest tens of thousands of euros for that equipment. So basically, to make MDMA, you would need a laboratory, and I mean a fully equipped laboratory. You would need chemicals which are banned or semi-banned, and it's so basically it's more complicated to make a much more simple thing, which is methamphetamine, because the law is so strict with these chemicals that you cannot get your hands on the chemicals you need, and it's a very easy process. I wanted to say a child could do it, but obviously not. It's dangerous, and never try this. Never ever watch YouTube videos and try this. That's a very stupid idea. So, I mean, people wake up in the hospital completely burned, the whole skin off from trying to make meth. And I'm not talking about meth. I don't want anything to do with that stuff that destroys your teeth and makes you look like straight out of Stalin's gulag. So I'm talking about ecstasy. So that was at some point in my life allegedly my drug of choice, and so I think the equipment cost a lot, like several thousand euros, but anyway, so I did that, and I was very pleased with myself that I was able to do that, because it's a pretty complicated thing, and I think I had to invest like years of my life into learning this inside and out, outside and in, and repeat. So I knew the whole text, which there was only one text that was credible, which was which checked out from the chemical process, which was known how to make that substance, and it checked out, but still you had to have some trust in the author, because you could not just check this stuff in the Merck database or something, because nobody in the world would put that on the internet. So this was like, maybe it stayed on the internet because people thought it's so complicated that nobody will ever try this at home. But like, as I said, when I see something, it makes sense in my worldview, and I was a hedonist. I said that I'm going to do that, and I'm going to, if it must be, invest a lot of energy into stuff like that. So I was really messed up. So I mean, it sounds very funny and stuff, but first off, what can you do with, I don't know, 150 grams of pure MDMA at home? What, want to take it all, sell it, go to prison for 150,000 years? So so I didn't even think that far. I just wanted to be able to say, I did that. Look at me. Pretty stupid. So anyway, so I wanted to talk about the most outrageous stuff, which is all allegedly has happened. And this is not a confession. This is just, I don't know. Anyway, so Tom Segura said he was very much into GHB, and to my knowledge I only tried that once, and I've never before tried that stuff, because it's not called the date rape drug for nothing. So I hope I didn't rape anybody. No, I'm sure I didn't get raped. But what happened was, this stuff was so strong that it knocks you out. You're like, I think I was sitting in a discotheque with I think I was gone for like 5 hours. We entered into it at 10 and I woke up at 5 in the morning. It was 5 in the morning, so it must have been more than 6 hours that I was gone. So we were there. I still remember something from like 11 o'clock, and I woke up at 5 o'clock with my head hanging at the side, and I was drooling for 5 hours onto my shirt, and I was like pitch wet. And it must have been a funny, pretty sight. So that's the only time I touched this stuff. Is evil. This stuff is so it has no taste. It doesn't smell like anything, and I think that's why they call it the rape drug, because they used to call Rohypnol the date rape drug, and I was very much into that too. And I even had one incident, and I think that's the last thing I will allege to. I even had one incident with a certain someone who has taken like, I don't know how many blisters full of Rohypnol. And Rohypnol, I think it's even called in America and England, if it's not called that, it's flunitrazepam. It's a benzodiazepine, a very, very strong one. It's the second strongest benzodiazepine. The strongest would be what's called Klonopin in America, which is clonazepam, CLONAZEPAM, clonazepam. That's the strongest one. The second one would be Rohypnol, and he consumed next to me a fistful, like 2 blisters, there's like 20 pieces at once. And he didn't even, he took it in his mouth, but he didn't swallow them. Like they have a coating, and he was sucking the coating off, and then he spit that stuff into a spoon. Then he put water into the spoon, cooked it up and injected it. If that's not disgusting, then I have several other stories that's way more disgusting than that. And he did that often. He's not around anymore, just if you wonder. So, and people on benzos are annoying to no end. They have this delusion that they haven't had enough and they need more, but they can't even speak or walk in a straight line or find their own head on their shoulders. So this guy like had 20 or 30 Rohypnol in his system, and we go to a friend of his, and he was a friend of mine. So if you can call drug friends, then he was a friend of mine. Like the mafia says, friend of me, friend of ours, friend of Cosa Nostra, and so on. So he's a friend of ours. So we went to this. That was a long time ago. That was like 10 years ago. It was over 10 years ago. That must have been, wow, that was 13 years ago. Anyway, so we went to this apartment of a friend of his. I could already imagine who this guy was, like some dealer that he befriended on wherever. So we were in his flat, and he was like, I think he was an Iraqi. He spoke a mixture of like Austrian and Turkish or something like that. But he was a funny guy, but he had connections. So his family was from, I think he was an Afghani. That's what he told us, yeah. And his family was still down there, so he had heroin, and I mean not that shitty stuff. So as he was an Afghani, so basically he had friends, and so he asked me if I was into heroin. I said, "Oh, sure," and that just, first of all, it's allegedly. Second of all, this was 13 years ago, allegedly. So I call him, but I'm too scared to try this because I've never seen like what's called China White, and that stuff was strong enough so that he only smoked it. And he was he was substituted on like 1,000 milligrams of morphine. That's a gram of morphine. 1,000 milligrams. It's a gram, a whole gram of morphine a day for this guy. And he used to still smoke heroin on aluminum foil. So, but my friend, of course, he wanted to shoot it up. So I think we were like 5 guys in the apartment, and he was the only guy who said, I please give me a little bit of the white stuff. I want to shoot it up just once so that I know what it's like. So I think he had like 20 Rohypnol in his system. He already consumed cocaine before that, and he shot up Afghan heroin, which looked very, very dangerous to me. So I didn't touch it. I didn't touch that stuff. It just looked too dangerous for me, because as far as I know, street heroin was like 5 to 8%, maybe 13, and this stuff looked like it could have been like 50, 60, 70% pure. So, and what does he do in his... He takes the same amount that you would take from street drugs, puts it in a spoon. The guy says, too much, it's too much, it's too much. And he says, no, 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 you don't know how much I... and he was already, he slurred his words. So, and that's the guy who just recently died from a heart attack. So, anyway, I don't want people to know who I'm speaking about, but I think I've just talked too much already. Anyway, so he shoots up the stuff, and he tries to say something to me, and during the sentence he's and he nodded off, and then he came to and tried and began the sentence from where he left off, and then nodded off again, came to and nodded off again, and then the fourth time he nodded off, and he basically he fell on the side, and the people began to say, hey, wake him up, wake him up, wake him up. And I tried to I mean, I was like a young, very young, so I tried to wake him up. It wasn't possible. So like I said, we were 5 people in the room. Suddenly we were 2, 3 people left the room, and I mean, like, they vanished into thin air like Aladdin. So they were gone. Even the guy who owned the apartment was gone, because they saw his lips are getting blue. He does not react to anything. So basically I'm not sure if I had to do CPR or whatever, but if I would have left that place, he would have died like 13 years ago. And I only stayed there because, first of all, he was a friend of mine, and I knew him since like a long time, and it could happen to anybody, and I wouldn't want people to run away. I would want people to call, at least call, you know, the ambulance, and drag me out of the apartment and put me on the street and call the ambulance and say, I don't know who that is. You know, at least that. Because like what they did, if he would have died, that would have been manslaughter, which is in Austria would be Totschlag. Totschlag durch unterlassene Hilfeleistung. Also zumindest unterlassene Hilfeleistung. Das wäre wahrscheinlich eher Totschlag. Also that would be manslaughter. So, and I got him to wake up eventually after like 20 minutes of cold water and punching him in the face and you know, I did everything I could think of from my medical training, and I couldn't think of very much because I didn't have naloxone. So I just tried to keep him semi-conscious as long as possible, and eventually he woke up. and I mean I had to slap him around like for 20 minutes. I had to get a bucket with cold water and put cold water in his face so that he would wake up for short periods of time so that he could breathe in again. So, and that went on for 20 minutes, and I was exhausted. I couldn't even have dialed 911 because I had no time to do that, and I was alone. And these people were gone. When they saw he doesn't react, they were gone. Even the guy who was the owner of the apartment was gone. And so I think I know I saved his life at least once. And he repaid me by stealing stuff from me and so on. So, but anyway, that's all just allegedly. I'm crazy anyhow, so that's just a story that I made up according to my attorney. I have my attorney with me. So yeah, Tom Segura is very funny, but these drug stories in reality are not funny. They are like, when I think back on that day, I think that it was like a black day, and I wish I would have been more adult and I would have intervened. I would have just said, "Are you insane? You can't take 2 blisters of Rohypnol? Are you intravenously? Are you insane?" Because I know that these tablets, Rohypnol tablets, which are very, very strong benzodiazepines, they are as big as like this. They're like this big. It's like half a penny or something. That's how big the thing is. And only 1 milligram, which is 1,000th of a gram, is the molecule, the medication. So all the rest of this huge tablet is just fillers. So if you inject that, you basically could just as well inject like sand into your veins if it would dissolve. So I'm not very surprised that he died of a heart attack. So because this guy would like shoot up anything. So, and there are still many things that were insane that happened to me, like when I was when I had to go into the loony bin. I'm in the real mental asylum because I had paranoid schizophrenic attack because of MDPV, which is similar to MDMA, and it's not methylene methamphetamine, it's methylene pyrovalerion, and that stuff is like, there isn't even a word for how powerful that shit is. In America they call it flakka with double K, flakka. And this was in Austria way before it came to America. And there was even a conspiracy theory among the addicts that went something like they invented that stuff to kill us off. Pretty much made sense at the time because it was so strong, and it was a very potent upper, so like amphetamine, and it was a very, very, very potent hallucinogenic drug. So you would not just have an increased heart rate, you would also have an LSD-like effect. And if you took enough of that stuff, you would guaranteed you would have a bad trip, like with very, very, very strong cocaine. And this stuff was like pure. So that was not something, I think it came from China. So, and this stuff ravaged through the community, and there are still people who have lost limbs from that stuff. So there's a lot more about these crazy stories, but just listen to Tom Segura, and I will put the video because it's very funny when you listen to him, but in reality maybe it was funny in the moment, but if I think back on it, it was just stupid. It was so stupid to take that risk just to get high for a few hours, that your life will be gone, or that you lose a limb, like an arm, like what nearly happened to me. And as I said, it's a wonder that I'm still in fact I'm doing better every day, and I attribute all of that to Jesus. All of it, even if people don't want to hear it, because it's the truth. I saw it, I know it. There's no doubt in my mind that that's true. Just like the surgeon who had his open heart surgery, I think he had a triple bypass. And he saw the other side, and you cannot say that's not real when you see it for yourself. Like I said, the other side is more real than this one. It's more colorful. It's like this is a black and white movie without sound, with very poor sound quality, and the other side is like a high definition color film. That's what it feels like when you drift over, when you nearly die and you drift over to the other side, or it opens up for a short moment. It's just unbelievable, and if you have seen that, you will never forget it. And there are other near-death experiences that I will talk about, because they are also absolutely incredible, and there have been enough of them, and they all say the same things. They all use the same words. They all say, like, when I was there, I wanted to stay there, but they didn't let me, because it's so beautiful there. And when I was there, it's like the other world seems like a bad movie, or a black and white movie, and the other side seems like more colorful, like blue is more blue, red is more red, yellow is more yellow, compassion is more compassionate, mercy is more merciful, and it's like the intensity is multiplied of everything. That's also, if you read the Bible and you read when someone meets an angel, that they were like completely flabbergasted of the beauty and the appearance of this being, or it's so traumatic that the encounter is so overwhelming that the Apostle Paul was blinded for 3 days. So yeah, but anyway, I'm drifting from the hundredth into the thousandth. So I just wanted to talk about that, and yeah, thanks for listening.